guys, and welcome back to Point Blank Sports, where you get to listen to us ramble uninterrupted for 15 minutes. I'm your host, Rihanna Dozier, alongside me, Wendell Epps and Ethan Smith, and today we're talking strictly about the Super Bowl. And all right, guys, predictions on three. Ready?
Great.
Let's do it.
1, 2, 3.
Chiefs. Hey! It's a sweep.
Okay. Now let's break it down into scores, and then we'll break it down into why we all want the let me rephrase as to why we think the Chiefs will win.
Yep. Okay, so
All right.
I definitely have a shootout in this one. I mean, it's Mahomes versus Brady. You
Right.
basically put in basketball terms like LeBron James going against Michael Jordan. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I definitely see both teams actually scoring over 30 points. My final score prediction is actually 35-31. I think it's going to come down to a last-second drive, and I think Mahomes is going to do what he does and help the Chiefs actually get another Super Bowl for the second year in a row. So.
All right. What about you? I'll go last.
I also think that it's going to be a shootout. I mean, both of these offenses are super high-powered, and although each team has their pieces on defense, I mean, you can't count out either Brady or Mahomes to put up a ton of points. I think I'm going with a 37-31 Chiefs win. I also think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think that the Chiefs will put together a drive and Brady won't be able to overcome that Chiefs defense to close out the game.
All right, so I definitely think that it will be a shootout as well, but my score's a little bit lower than these guys. So I actually think it's going to come down to a field goal in the last, I want to say, minute 30, and I think the score is going to be 31-28, actually.
Okay.
I think, and the Chiefs obviously win, but I think it's going to come down to a field goal. I don't think it'll be a whole touchdown, because Brady's got a lot to prove in this game. He has a lot to prove, and I don't think he's going to give up a whole touchdown, or at least he's going to try as hard as he can not to. So I think a field goal will be the deciding factor.
Yeah, like I will say, like this was definitely one of the harder Super Bowls to predict.
It definitely
like I was going back and
It was.
forth
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
too.
because
yeah.
Tom Brady making the Super Bowl, the age he is incredible, and like knowing Tom Brady, sometimes you can't bet against him, but I'm taking the risk only because Patrick
Right.
Mahomes is on the other side. So yeah,
It's like, in this case, like, usually the old would, like, win because they've got more knowledge and stuff. But, like,
Yeah.
old versus new, when it comes to quarterbacks, you can't. I mean,
Yeah.
Mahomes is young and he's fresh. I mean, this team is coming in hot right now. He threw, like, 4,700 something yards. I think it was like 4,740 or something,
so.
with 38 touchdowns. I mean, this guy is coming in hot. He won Super Bowl MVP last year. I mean, he's ready. He's ready to take on Brady. He knows what that the stakes are high and what it takes, and I think he's going to do it. And I mean, he's got tight end Kelsey with him, and then he's got wide receiver Hill. It's like this is the dream team right there.
This
Like
is.
Right.
Brady is getting adapted to this new team. Mahomes has been with this team for a little while, so I think he's got the upper hand here. I mean, what do you guys think?
I definitely think that it is tight. And I mean, if you look at the two teams stacked against each other, both of them have really poignant weapons, right?
Yeah.
If you look at, obviously with the Chiefs, I mean, you have Mahomes is throwing to Tyreek Hill. He's throwing to Travis Kelce. He's got guys like Sammy Watkins and Clyde
Yeah.
Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell. He's got weapons all around him, but don't count out Brady and the Bucs.
I
They
never will. I never will.
Because they still have Mike Evans. They still have
Yes.
Chris Godwin. They have Antonio Brown, Ronald Jones coming out of the backfield, Leonard Fournette coming out of the backfield. So guys, I want to pose a couple questions to you. So with all those weapons in mind, regardless of who wins, which quarterback, Mahomes or Brady, who has the better game?
Mahomes.
I agree with that. I think Mahomes, just because the Buccaneers defense is not so great. I mean,
Right.
they let Aaron Rodgers actually put on a really good show in the conference championship game, even though the Packers lost. Aaron Rodgers still did what he normally does.
Right.
So I feel like just because of that and the talent that Mahomes has, he's in his prime right now. I really feel like Mahomes is going to have a better game. I think Brady's going to have a pretty average game. He'll probably throw an interception or two, but I think his stat line will be a little bit better than what it was against the Packers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Mahomes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
I definitely would agree with you guys, just because, I mean, Mahomes has so much raw talent. I mean, he's able to do so many crazy things with the ball, whether it be sidearms, no-look passes, throwing it, a casual 50-yard bomb like it's nothing. You know.
Okay, but you also have to take into account he's able to do all those things because the Chiefs have one of, I mistake me if I'm wrong, but I think it's either one of the best or the best offensive line in the NFL right now.
Oh, absolutely. They're
Like,
definitely
so
top tier
if
group.
you have a great offensive line, then you are able to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the Bucs do have a great offensive line, but compared to the Chiefs, it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, sometimes they can't always keep Brady open.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult.
For sure. So another matchup going into this Sunday, I mean, a lot of people are talking about Mahomes and Brady. There are two top-tier tight ends going into this game. I mean, you have Rob Gronkowski, who's been with Brady for his entire career. He's obviously the powerhouse that he used to be. I mean, they
Yes.
don't utilize him as much as New England did. But you also have to look at Travis Kelce on the Chiefs side. So who do we think among the two tight ends, who has the better matchup against the other team's defenses?
I'm going to say Travis Kelce does. I like Gronk, but he's not really the same Gronk that he was when he was in New England. And I feel like Mahomes is definitely going to look for Kelce as he always does. I feel like that's actually going to be the weapon he looks for more. Brady, as you mentioned, like doesn't really look for Gronk as much. I don't feel like Gronk's been utilized as well as he probably should be.
Right.
So I feel like with that matchup, Kelsey's going to have a great game. Actually, bold prediction, I think he's going to receive over 100 yards.
Okay.
And I think
Yes.
Gronk's actually going to start off slow. He might pick up like in the fourth quarter when the Buccaneers are playing a little bit catch up. But I got Travis Kelce because arguably the best tight end in the NFL at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he had 105, was it? Receptions or, yeah, 105
Yeah.
receptions, like 1,416 yards or something and 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's amazing. Gronk, like Wendell was saying, he's not the same. I mean, you take a year off, that it's hard for anybody to take a year off and then go hard like that again. Yes, it is a miracle that you've made it to the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean that you've proved yourself along the way as well.
Right.
Because like you were saying, they have other tight ends like Evans and Godwin that they're going to be looking out for, and that Brady has helped to. So he doesn't always need to throw it like to Gronk like he needed to sometimes with the Patriots. I mean, he's tall. He definitely has that advantage in the end zone, but Brady's got to get there. Brady's got to have that arm and be able to do that, or else Gronk is just wasted. I mean, I don't like using that word wasted, but I feel like in this case, it's like he is wasted if Brady can't
Right.
get open to do that.
Yeah.
So,
I would definitely agree with you. I'm going to go a little bit of a different route. I do agree with Wendell that I think that Travis Kelce is going to win the yardage battle. I definitely think that. However, I think that Gronk is going to have a better game in terms of his impact, right? I feel like in Super Bowl situations, Brady always finds Gronk. Whenever
Yes.
the
That is so
whenever
true.
the Patriots
Yeah.
were in trouble,
Yeah.
Brady always finds him for a big gain. So I think that while Gronk doesn't get utilized nearly as much as he used to, and while I think that he probably won't have nearly as many catches or yards, I feel like he's going to have those impact plays, and he's going to be a better tight end in terms of the impact on the offense and the chances that he's going to give them, you know? So I feel like he always finds ways to get open. He finds ways to get past defenders, and I think that it's definitely going to be a close matchup. I think that Gronk's going to have the bigger impact, though. So, Rihanna, you kind of hinted on this a little bit in our in the little preview that we got. But which quarterback do we think has more to prove? I mean, obviously we have Tom Brady, who's it's his 10th Super Bowl appearance. He's already won 6 titles, but he's been well known to treat every Super Bowl that he appears in like it's his first, right?
Yes.
He'll take into account his previous losses, but every championship is his first. Meanwhile, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's coming off of a Super Bowl win, and he said, "I'm focused." He said in the virtual media day that he's focused on winning Super Bowl number 2, not 6 down the road, right? So, who do we think in this matchup has more to prove this Sunday?
it was definitely a sore subject watching your former quarterback play for another team and going to the Super Bowl knowing your team didn't even like qualify for playoffs.
Yeah, not
But-
good.
Unfortunately.
Mine
Not
did.
good.
Yeah.
But I thought it was the Bucks that ended up beating you guys
We
in
put
the
up a
wild
good
card
fight.
round, right?
We put up a really
didn't
good
they beat
fight,
you?
and
Yeah,
we
that's
could
what
say
I
we
thought.
did it against
that's
the
exactly
conference
what I
champs,
thought.
so-
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
we made the playoffs, bottom line. You guys didn't.
Yeah. But I
As did
definitely
we.
think that Brady does have more to prove. It's just it's hard because Mahomes being so fresh and young, you have a lot to prove to make a name for yourself and to make a legacy out of yourself. Brady's already has a legacy.
Right.
He's already proved himself. He already has a name for himself. He's going down in the books. Mahomes needs to make sure that he can be as good as Brady. So in a way, Brady has to prove to Tampa Bay and the nation that it was him that made the Patriots and not Bill Belichick. So he has that to prove, but also Mahomes has the rest of his career to prove, essentially. So it's really tough, but also, like, you know, with the home field advantage, there's something that was always in Brady's play when he would play at New England. It's something in the air, playing at your own field. And now that it's the Super Bowl and they're playing in Tampa Bay, I mean, the momentum in the air, it's like there's going to be magic. It's different. It's going to be a different feeling, and it's going to be different for Brady.
Right.
And I think that's going to give him a lot of the motivation he needs to prove himself. But I also think that will give Mahomes the motivation he needs to prove Brady wrong. Either way, it's going to be an honor watching both of them play, and it's probably an honor for Brady to play against Mahomes, knowing that once Brady's finally done in the league, God only knows when that will be, but Mahomes is probably going to be like the next Brady. Yeah, I mean, am I wrong?
No,
like
definitely.
He'll probably be the next Brady. So it will be an honor to play with someone that he wants to follow in his legacy. And for Brady, it will be an honor to play with somebody who will take on his legacy and respect it.
Yeah, like they both have a lot to prove in their own ways. I
Yes.
think for Mahomes, I think it's actually a little bit bigger just because he has a chance of winning Super Bowl 2 years in a row, which would essentially be a dynasty because that's very hard to do, especially in football, to win 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Right.
So I feel like Brady's already proven who he is. Even if he
Exactly.
loses, people are still going to refer to him as Tom Brady, the
The
GOAT.
GOAT,
Like, people
yes.
know who Tom Brady is.
Yes.
But Mahomes, obviously, we know the talent he has, but if he can prove he can beat someone like Tom Brady, to say you beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, I mean, Eli Manning knows what that's like. And look,
Right.
Eli Manning, he had some bad years, but people still look at him as being the guy who beat Tom Brady, the guy
Right.
who always came in the clutch. So I feel like if Mahomes can do that, he'll definitely be able to solidify his reputation a lot more. So.
I agree.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the quarterback matchup.
Yep.
We've talked a lot. I mean, obviously that's the big story going into the game. So which non-quarterback do we think needs to step up in order for their team to win?
I think it's not really an individual player. I think it's really just the Buccaneers defense. They need to be able to
Yes,
stop Mahomes.
I agree with that.
Like, they just
I
need to stop
totally agree
Mahomes
with
because that
that.
Buccaneers defense has been pretty inconsistent. I mean,
I agree.
when they played my Washington football team, they let Taylor Heineke put on a show.
Right.
I mean, I'm hoping some of that was definitely Heineke's talent, but there was some plays in that game where I was like, okay, the Buccaneers defense is not stepping up as well as they should.
Right.
So I feel like that Buccaneers defense is very hard to stop Patrick Mahomes, but if they can do it, if they can prove that they can stop Patrick Mahomes, the outcome of this game could be different. I mean, that's going to be the biggest key if Tampa wants to win this game is their defense playing well. So that's definitely going to be the biggest impact in this game, no doubt.
I 100% agree with that.
I would definitely say that it just needs to be the defense in general. I mean, if you look at Tampa
Defense
Bay's
wins championships.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you look at
Yes.
Tampa Bay's defense, I mean, they've been letting up big performances from guys like Taylor Heineke and Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, you look at the Chiefs' defense. I mean, they've been stepping up when it matters, but I mean, they're still letting up points.
They
you
are.
know. But I mean, they got a couple of great guys like Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu, and both of those guys, as well as the leadership on that defense, they're going to need to step up in order for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I mean, at the same time, Tampa Bay, you have Levante David, you have Devin White, you have Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, these are all guys that are going to need to put the big boy pants on and get to work because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. So, talking about some of the Chiefs and the Buccaneers' key players, I mean, two of the biggest names in the NFL that have been quite possibly the most vocal, the most crazy, whatever you want to call them, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, right? Obviously, both of them former Steelers, and ever since they left Pittsburgh, they've had a rocky career, right? Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets. He obviously wasn't as good as he used to be. Antonio Brown just went straight out of left field. I mean, getting arrested, getting cut from team after team.
Yeah.
He was the hippo in the Masked
Right.
Singer.
Yep, exactly. But I mean, that's the highlight of his career after he left Pittsburgh. But both of these guys, I feel like they have a chance to potentially repair their legacies this Sunday with a Super Bowl win. So that's the question I want to pose to you guys is like for either of these guys, Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell, regardless of who wins, does a ring help repair that legacy that they've tarnished over the last few years?
Well, I will say first that I know they're laughing at the Steelers because they were able to get to a Super Bowl without their help.
Right.
But I feel like in terms of whether this game can help them with the reputation, it's going to depend on what they do, their impact. I feel like if Antonio Brown, for example, if he were to catch for over 100 yards, catch a touchdown or two, and the Buccaneers lose, people still be like, okay, Antonio Brown is back in some form. So I feel like it's not really a matter of who wins or who loses. It's just a matter of the impact that they have on the game. Like you mentioned with Gronk, the possible impact he can have. If Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown can have an impact in this game, then that would be a huge help for them, for sure.
Right.
So everyone's going to definitely hate me for my answer, but I don't think a ring is going to help them prove anything. Because for me, I think of it in terms of like even college athletics. I mean, you have bench warmers essentially like on a basketball team sit there, and if the basketball team makes like the championship, they get a ring. But what does that mean for the bench warmer? I mean, they literally sat there the whole season. They didn't do anything. They're not going to be better than they were yesterday just because they have diamonds on their hand now. It's not going to change the way you play. It's not going to change how you feel about the game. Now you just have something to flaunt. So for both of them, for Bell and Brown, I don't think that a ring is going to help them prove anything. Because for me, if you were to prove something, we would be seeing it out there on the field.
Right.
You need to prove yourself. A piece of jewelry is not going to help that. I mean, there are people that have never played that are going to get a ring on that team, and that doesn't mean any difference to them. And it doesn't mean any difference from the team either. So if you aren't good enough to play on the team, it's just, what is a ring going to do, you know?
That's fair. I definitely think that it's not going to happen overnight, right? I mean, both of these guys have done pretty irreparable damage as far as their legacies go with some of their off-the-field antics, with some of their, on-the-field antics. I mean, with the toxicity that both of those guys have been known to bring onto a field. But I feel like this Super Bowl will be like a stepping stone of some point. Like, this is going to be a good place for them to start if they are looking to repair that legacy that they're trying to repair. Whether or not they have 100 yards receiving, or if it's just one big touchdown, or if it's just one big moment. I feel like this is the chance for both of these guys to put their foot down and say, I'm back. I'm going to, work on my act. I'm going to put better product out on the field, and I feel like this is the chance for them to do that.
Yeah.
We
have time for one more quick question.
We have time for one more question.
Yes.
All right, so we've talked a lot about this Super Bowl, right? I mean, obviously this Super Bowl is what's going to happen. I mean, we've been setting our sights on.
Yes.
Taking a look back at some of the Super Bowls you guys have watched in the past, and some of the moments, some of the legendary moments that you guys have seen. What's your favorite Super Bowl moment growing up, like as a kid, watching your teams play?
Well, I was an adult when this happened, but definitely coming back and like beating the Falcons, like, are you kidding me? Like, that was the most amazing game of my whole life. I mean, I'm literally gonna get emotional talking about it, but that was one of the best games of my whole life. I mean, watching my team do that, I was so proud of them. I have never loved my team more than in that moment. I don't know what it was, but Julian Edelman's catch, like, I fell in love with him all over again. I mean, I totally fell in love with him all over again, but it was amazing. It was something that I will never, ever forget. It is a memory and a moment that's going to live rent-free in my life until the day that I die.
That's pretty fair.
Interesting.
Wendell, as a fan of the Washington football team, your team has not found similar success as Rihanna's Patriots.
Unfortunately.
But just growing up watching the Super Bowl, even though your team isn't there, what's a moment that like stands out to you as like your favorite moment? Like, this is why I love watching the Super Bowl. This is why I love watching football, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to think about a Super Bowl that involves the Patriots. Like, I'm thinking of Super Bowls in the past right now. Patriots were in it. I think a couple that come to mind. The first Super Bowl I ever watched was the Giants versus Patriots one. I think back in like 2008.
Oh, so a bad one.
Yeah, when David Tyree caught the big catch at the end of the game, that was just really cool. That's my first Super Bowl I ever watched. That's what got me into watching sports. So that's a big moment. And then, like the Patriots-Falcons game, that was really impressive. I think that's when I really said, okay, Tom Brady, like, he's really talented.
Yes.
Really, really talented. Seahawks versus Patriots were the Seahawks. They made a bad decision at the end of the game. And then, sometimes it's more than just the game. I look at the halftime show, the commercials, the whole
Oh
experience.
my God, the commercials.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
the Puppy Bowl right before
yeah,
it. Yeah,
there's
it's-
people that literally watch Super Bowl not even for the game, just for
It's
the
the
entertainment.
commercials,
It's just a
yeah.
really cool event in general.
Right.
So.
I mean, my first Super Bowl that I ever watched was the Steelers and Cardinals Super Bowl,
Okay.
where
Yeah,
the
that was
Steelers got
nice.
their 6th ring.
That was nice.
Obviously, the Santonio Holmes catch at the very end of the
Yeah.
game was huge. The James Harrison pick six was huge. But I gotta say that my favorite moment, and you're gonna hate me for this, but I gotta say my favorite moment is that Eagles win in 2017. I gotta admit, I mean, it was a
hurting.
fantastic game. As somebody who really loves offensive football, it was so back and forth. Nick Foles and Tom Brady putting up huge numbers, big play after big play. Obviously the Philly special, but I just remember the Eagles ended up winning, and it was just pandemonium, right? Everybody was going crazy. Even in my house in good old Raleigh, North Carolina. I mean, we're watching it and we're just having just a blast watching this game. So, I mean, it was just a really fun moment. It was a really fun time. Definitely the most entertaining experience I've had watching a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what it is. It's like, that's the best part about it, is that when you can look next to look next to you and it's the person that's rooting for your same team as well. It's just, even if you don't know them, like, that's what I like about sitting in the stands the most at Gillette Stadium, is that you can high five somebody and they're a totally random stranger, but you are family in that moment.
Right.
When you are there with fans that are cheering for your team too, and they just scored, that is family.
Yeah.
It's family.
That's the beauty of sports. And I don't know what
Exactly.
year my Washington football team's going to get in the Super Bowl. It might be like 2057, but
That sounds about right.
but hopefully it's sooner than that. But I'm also happy Super Bowl's on CBS this year.
Yes, Mhm.
So
yes.
we got Jim Nance, Tony Romo on the call. I love Tony
Yes.
Romo,
Oh, that's
so
gonna
I'm
be
looking
fun.
forward to that. That should be a lot
I'm
of
looking
fun.
forward to it. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Point Blank Sports. We hope to see you next week again with our official review of the Super Bowl,
Super Bowl
right?
recap
Yeah,
of
Super
Right.
Bowl
everything
recap.
from
Yeah,
start to finish.
We'll see if our predictions are right. Stay tuned for which one of us was right. I think it'll be me because, I know Tom Brady better than these two, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
okay.
We'll see about that. We're all on the Chiefs
see.
side, so
Yes.
yeah.
But we'll see you back here next week.
See you then.
Got you, buddy.